AIT Studios in Abuja, Nigeria, this is the O&M Late Show with Obiora Ilo and Mamode Akuga.
Hello there. Good evening and welcome to your show, the O&M Late Show. I am Obiora Ilo. Well, so much is happening around the country, and it looks like the big focus in Nigeria today is anti-corruption. Of course, earlier today, the president declared open a workshop being put together by the National Assembly, and is focused on corruption. And today I listened and listened and listened. And for the first time, we're starting to see a kind of synergy between the legislature and the executive. Even though in the few speeches that we heard today, you still saw, isolated shots being thrown from the legislature to the executive, from the executive to the legislature. But I think the takeaway in the opening ceremony today is the need for the legislature and the executive to work hand in hand in this fight against corruption. We didn't see much of the judiciary at that outing today. I don't really know why, but an expansion of that collaboration between the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary will do Nigeria a world of good. And that contribution by the learned Professor Lumumba, all the way from Kenya, was also very, very interesting. And one word that he used earlier today that stuck in my brain was what he called political hygiene. And I think what he was saying was that we have to keep politics clean. We have to make sure that our politics is as clean as should be. And he says something like being surprised that political office seekers would spend $1 billion or $2 billion or $3 billion for a job that pays probably in the books, not more than, say, 30 million naira a year. Why, for instance, should someone who wants to be a senator spend so much money when he knows that what he should get officially from doing that job for, say, 4 years is nothing near what he's going to spend? And Professor Lumumba says maybe the politicians know some things that some of us don't know. He also talked about the essence of our votes counting. That when, as a voter, I go to the polling booth and say, I want Mr. A or Mr. B, and majority of us say they want Mr. A, then that should reflect in the results that we get. That conference today was quite very heartening. If, again, we take to heart some of the things that were said there today, both by the executive, the legislature, the anti-corruption fighters, and all that. And then it takes us to the controversy that we had for a couple of days, or not days now, it's almost a week. The controversy between Mr. President and the wife of the president. Of course, we don't have a first lady. What we have is the wife of the president, And the wife of the president says, I think a couple of things are wrong, and I think something should be done about it. And a lot of people say, what's wrong with that? And a lot of people say, there's something wrong with that. Why didn't the wife of the president go to the room to say, sweetheart, I think this and this is wrong? But the controversy continues, and of course, a new lexicon in our husband-wife vocabulary, bedroom, living room, and the other room. we've heard so many things about the other room. You know, everybody's talking, giving it their own interpretation. But someone told me this evening that this is good for our democracy. It shows that women are stepping out of the box, you know, to express themselves. And whether the propriety of that expression is, I think, what is part of the debate. And of course, the propriety of Mr. President saying, my wife belongs to the kitchen, my wife belongs to opposition, I don't know what party she belongs. I think also, as much as he had his right to express himself, I think also the propriety of what he said, where he said it, how he said it, is also part of the raging debate. And I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be part of that debate. We'll leave it and hope that the takeaways will be the positives. You know, if somebody says there's something wrong with the way Mr. President is going, it's also important for Mr. President to say, okay, maybe there's some point in this, and take the positives. And then if the president says my wife's role is in the kitchen, it's also good for there to be some positive takeaways. Maybe in future, the wife of the president will do more of private, advice, you know, for Mr. President. But for me, the positive takeaways, of course, some APC stalwarts have lent their weight to say that, look, we think the president should do some, you know, some political engineering, touch up the cabinet, make sure that there are more appointments, board positions and all that, so that a lot of people will be involved in governance, and maybe the opposition and complaints and grumbling and whining will reduce somehow. So I don't want to be part of that debate. Tonight, we are going to talk about Nigeria. We are going to talk about APC. We are going to talk about what it was 2 years ago, what it is today. A lot of APC stalwarts were very prominent opposition voices in the days of Goodluck Jonathan. For us in the media, we saw a lot of them, not just as APC members, we also saw them as anti-corruption crusaders, civil rights activists. But surprisingly, after the victory of the APC, they went silent. Or we feel they went silent. We feel suddenly they're no longer civil rights advocates, they're no longer anti-corruption crusaders, they're just silent. Tonight, my guest is OSITA OKECHUKWU, a very strident opposition voice during the Jonathan days, but a voice that some say maybe not as strident as it used to be. He's my guest tonight. OSITA OKECHUKWU is an APC member and Director General of Voice of Nigeria. He'll be joining me in a moment to talk about the APC, state of the nation, and the way forward. Don't go away.
These were the last words of legendary Apple visionary Steve Jobs, moments before he died. I have come to the pinnacle of success in business. In the eyes of others, my life has been the symbol of success. However, apart from work, I have little joy. Finally, my wealth is simply a fact to which I am accustomed. At this time, lying on the hospital bed and remembering all my life, I realize that all the accolades and riches of which I was once so proud have become insignificant with my imminent death. In the dark, when I look at green lights of the equipment for artificial respiration and feel the buzz of their mechanical sounds, I can feel the breath of my approaching death looming over me. Only now do I understand that once you accumulate enough money for the rest of your life, you have to pursue objectives that are not related to wealth. It should be something more important. For example, stories of love, art, dreams of my childhood. No, stop pursuing wealth. It can only make a person into a twisted being, just like me. God has made us one way. We can feel the love in the heart of each of us, and not illusions built by fame or money, like I made in my life. I cannot take them with me. I can only take with me the memories that were strengthened by love. This is the true wealth that will follow you, will accompany you. He will give strength and light to go ahead. Love can travel thousands of miles, and so life has no limits. Move to where you want to go. Strive to reach the goals you want to achieve. Everything is in your heart and in your hands. What is the world's most expensive bed? The hospital bed. If you have money, you can hire someone to drive your car, but you cannot hire someone to take your illness that is killing you. Material things lost can be found. But one thing you can never find once you have lost it, is life. Whatever stage of life where we are right now, at the end we will have to face the day when the curtain falls. Please treasure your family love for your spouse, love for your friends. Treat everyone well and stay friendly with your neighbors. Moments after speaking these words, that he had asked to be written down, Steve Jobs, aged 56, passed away.
Business icon, Steve Jobs, founder of Apple. Well, that's watching the internet. And joining me now is OSITA OKECHUKWU, Director General, Voice of Nigeria. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Good to see you after a very, very long time. You know, when you walked into the studio, almost everyone was, what happened? We've not seen you in a long time. What happened? Was it the victory of APC or?
We have been under the bridge trying to fix what we met on the ground that is not so palatable. Because we actually were aware that there was corruption in the land, but little did we know the depth. And I think also that most of Nigerians did not know that is somewhere along the line somebody can set up a flush bank where money meant to defend the Nigerian territory will be used to dish out depending on your ratings. Some said they accepted they got 500 million, some 100 million, some in billions, and they had no relationship with the military equipment or even the welfare of the troops. So we never anticipated that. We never anticipated as well that a judge will go to somewhere to collect money to the extent of tucking the money in his shoes and fixing some in his pocket, enter his vehicle without on toes because the shoe was stuffed with dollars, all in his pockets, and even inside his singlet were dollars.
Those allegations have not been proved.
No.
No one has been convicted.
No. Please, don't just think that if you have a president,
Yes,
like President Muhammadu Buhari, that he will allow the Department of Security Service, any agency for that matter, to swoop on judges for fun.
Are you suggesting that they had a clearance of the president to break the doors of judges at 1 a.m. in the night?
There's nothing like breaking the doors.
No. Are you saying that?
No. Get it right.
Okay.
It's good to, you know, a lot of people are trying to leave Nigeria into the Nollywood arena.
Okay.
Where everything is like a play. A security agent came to your house with warrant.
At 1 a.m.
In this case, a judge. Don't forget about timings.
No, but these things are important.
No, forget about
the
timings.
time is also important.
No. Go by the law. Go by the law. It's not as if he sneaked in through the window. No. Who is that? Mr. OSITA OKECHUKWU, Department Security Agency. Sir, want to talk with you. You locked up. You didn't even lock the room where you are yourself. Where you were was not locked. let us say it's 5 rooms or 7, even 7 rooms. It's akin to a story that was being told well in those folk tales where they talked about cults, the people who belong to the dangerous cults, that a one room would be kept where there were corpses or something like that. So nobody anticipated such. And guess what? In your narrative, you talked about Professor Lumumba. When we talk about corruption, we're talking about life and death. Because corruption had led to the deaths of millions of Nigerians. It had led to underdevelopment of this country. It has subverted our goals. It had undermined our potentials to the extent that in 1960 we were talking of our potentials. Today we are still talking of our potentials.
Okay.
When
Mr. Okechukwu, before
similar countries like ours have moved.
No, before you go further, are you saying in all conscience, I mean, in all sincerity, that you, OSITA OKECHUKWU, at 2 a.m. in the night, and somebody knocks on your door, rather at your gate, in today's Nigeria of terrorism, armed robbery, kidnapping, at 2 a.m., saying that I am I'm so-and-so of so-and-so place, that you throw your gates open, in all sincerity?
Why wouldn't I? One, they are not talking of an OSITA OKECHUKWU that doesn't have policemen at my gate. I have similar agencies in my house. And those agencies have identified they are not thieves. It's not as if the judge is just on his own. He's not on his own.
So if the security men said they are not thieves and they were inside the compound and willing to open the gates for them, why would they break down doors and break down gates?
No, please. It's very easy to dramatize. But it's easy to look at the hard facts.
Okay.
Luckily, the Attorney General had made it clear that nobody is above the law, that they will be prosecuted. In the course of events, the Nigerian people will come to know that it's not an acting scenario. That is a rare crime that bordered on life and death of the people of this country. A lot of people had asked, you people did not do this, you did not do that. You can fix the economy. Can you fix the economy? You're a farmer. In the bounty seasons, you could not fix the excesses. Assuming these are yams, you didn't put it in the barn. Protect it, whatever is used to protect yam, so that it's not rotten. Rather, what he did was to squander the yams. And like every other drought history, there have been seasons of bounty and seasons of famine. And now famine comes. How do you contain the bad weather when you do not keep the good weather? Those who rupture the good weather of the country actually is more than treason. That's why Nigeria is where we are. There's an emergency. Millions of Nigerians cannot find food on their desk. Millions could not pay school fees. Millions could not pay for Medicare. And throughout history, in the era of emergency, if you meet emergency and you want to solve a emergency situation, you must also do whatever you could to plug so that you could save the little. What President Buhari is doing is, can we save the little and manage prudently? Ask anybody. Okay. In any department of affairs, public departments, both those who are civil servants in the looting days, they are aware today that things have changed. Okay. This is a silent revolution because this is democracy. You know, democracy is incremental because you cannot do it with immediate effect anymore.
Today, the Vice President said that that in the course of his, he said something like I've been involved in the anti-corruption war and crusade since 1990. So that should be about 26 years or so, okay? And he said in that 26 years, he can't remember of ever meeting anyone who said, I'm cool with corruption, you know. I want corruption to go on. And I think that's the same feeling a lot of Nigerians have today. Whether a lot of Nigerians understand the need for us to kill corruption before corruption kills us, like our president did suggest, that is not in doubt. And that is why a lot of Nigerians are worried that since May 29th, 2015, all that the APC has been talking about and the government of APC been talking about is corruption, corruption. This person took 30 billion, this person took 1 trillion. And I mean, like, we are even getting, hearing it every day is making it a little boring. Why is it that for 2 years, close to 2 years, all APC talks about is we are fighting corruption, and the country is getting worse? People can't feed anymore. Pots of soup are being stolen on stoves and gas cookers. People are jumping from 10-story buildings. They would rather die than be Nigerians. Yes, we agree with the anti-corruption. What is the government and your party doing to make the lives of Nigerians a little better?
Thank you very much. It's like I was in the village some weeks ago.
Yes.
It happened that one of our elder sisters was being buried. And it was, somebody died in the other family. Somebody died there. People are dying on a daily basis. It's as if even Mr. President, is he not worried at discussing all these deaths? And I sat him down. I said, can we count number that was delivered, new kids? They said, no, don't talk about that. I said, luckily, we had every village setting that nobody was in a hurry to go anywhere. So I pleaded, and they listened. In our own neighborhood, where about 4 people died in the past 2 years, 18 children were born. Nobody talks about the new births because it's not it's not a fad. Nobody remembers that President Muhammadu Buhari, on coming to power, met with the governors, and about 20-something states were owing salaries of workers, some 3 months, some 4 months, some 12 months, some 18 months. And he asked, what is the little left? And they told him. I remember in one of the meetings, I was one of those that told Mr. President, why don't we address the roads? He said, whether it's the state or local government that is owing, or federal, that is children of Nigeria that are hungry. Use those billions. They call it bailout funds. Even some governors had failed to realize how much they squandered. And Mr. President had to pay in order to make sure that people got their salaries. Some did not even get full. About three tranches of bailout funds. Let me come again. The other time, about 400 billion. Mr. President said, ministers, departments, and agencies, please, instead of going for new projects, try and pay the major contractors and the medium and small ones verifiable contract done. Because a lot of them had laid out their workers, because some, since 2012, had not been paid. Some 2014. Everybody said, Mr. President, what of new projects? He said, let's pay them. Some asked, the big ones especially, like Julius Berger, when they got their own, It was nowhere. They were over 200 billion. Real completed projects. If he had said, okay, in order to make a bang and hit the drums, let's, instead of going through this road, let's award the other one. In Enugu, where you come from, where we had a chairman, Wars Committee on the Senate, we had chairman Wars Committee on the House, and they allowed federal roads in the state. We had Deputy Senate President. We had a Minister of Finance. We had all those who were very close to the then Mr. President. But he said, no. Please, we know it will make major impact if you go for new roads. Please pay. Let them offset some of their bills with the banks and even recall some of their workers back, because without those workers, the Nigerian state will be nowhere. Don't forget, Buhari had always had in mind that in 2003, he had 12 million votes. In 2007, in 2011, in 2015, and he had always borne in mind that majority in the pyramid of his votes, majority are from the base, the commoners. Anytime it comes to anything that will impact on commoners, he will throw all the money he has. So nobody remembers the billions that he had used. Now, if you go back, you will see now we're coming out of the rainy season. The contractors are getting back to work. There's no way the impact could have been the way you're saying it. But the little he met on the ground, he had tried to plug them in order to cushion the effects. Now there's what is called the Social Investment Program that is going to address artisans. In this year's budget, it's 500 billion. Some people thought it's wastage.
Is that where you're going to pay the 5,000 naira?
It's one of the segments.
5,000 naira that the APC promised and denied after they won election?
No. Let's not do propaganda.
No,
I thought you come out to
No, Mr. Okechukwu, it's not propaganda. No. That APC said...
If you want us to go into propaganda, I can also go into propaganda.
No. This is not propaganda. APC said they were going to pay 5,000 each to unemployed Nigerians during the campaigns. Okay? And after the elections, the APC and the government said that was not what they said.
Please, as a senior...
If it's propaganda, educate me.
As an outcomer of over the years.
Yes.
And a very senior journalist in Nigeria, I would presuppose that you've gone through the manifesto of the APC.
No.
Did you at any time?
Several times.
Good.
Several times.
Was there anywhere you found that?
So
we had.
Are you saying that promise was not made?
I'm coming now. Along the line, APC is like a son with many fathers.
Okay.
A lot of commitments were made, but who said whether it's in the manifesto of the APC or not?
Yeah.
We're going to honor it because it falls in line with our own bent in the ideological spectrum of the left, a little bit of the left, who said it concerns the people. It becomes one of the segments of the social investment program. But the key words are the cooperative societies.
Okay, let's take a break.
Okay.
Let's take a break. Let me also remind our viewers that they can join the conversation if they send WhatsApp only to 081 another 1 in 5 places 677. That's 081 111 11677. We'll be back in a moment.
Are you watching Nigeria's biggest late night show?
Without him enjoying his 90 days, he did all that within 2 days. Yet, INEC didn't even...
Okay, let me ask this question so that
please.
No, what is please?
No, it's not everything that the president goes to everywhere proclaiming.
In Agatu area you're talking about, the president put up a special presidential panel. How can the executive come and give us the rule that regulates our conduct within the National Assembly? That is interference.
For us to get the real budget as presented by Mr. President with the corrections, go through the budget process, pass it so that things will start moving.
The name of the immediate past president owns a plot on the Metama Hill. Desiani Alice Maduike owns a plot on the Metama Hills. Then companies were also used to cover the faces of some individuals and Nigerians.
And the Attorney General, by virtue of his position, he is the only minister given such immense powers created in the Constitution by Section 150. Now, that kind of person should be careful when exercising those powers.
I am a proud Igbo woman and a proud Nigerian, and I have served this country. I love this country. Come to think of it, I'm not married to an Igbo man. I married a Yoruba Muslim.
I saw Bob Marley bedroom. Many people don't know that. You know, Bob Marley is like Elijah. I'm Elisha. Okay. I have the double portion.
When would the African people come together?
O&M Late Show and O&M Sunday Show with Obiora Ilo and Mamudia Koga. Tuesdays 11 p.m. and on Sunday 2 p.m. Are you watching Nigeria's biggest late night show?
Without him enjoying his 90 days, he did all that within 2 days. Yet, INEC didn't even...
Okay, let me ask this question. So that
please.
No, I want this, please.
No, it's not everything that the president goes to everywhere prognosing. In Agatu area you're talking about, the president put up a special
If you're just joining us, you're watching the O&M show on AIT, and today we're looking at the state of the nation and the APC as a political party. And we have someone who was there at creation, at birth, you know, and who is still with the APC. I have OSITA, OKECHUKWU, DG of Voice of Nigeria with me. Yeah, Mr. OKECHUKWU, we were talking about what your party and your government
had delivered.
Had delivered.
Yes.
And what they have not delivered. You know, and
I said it's very easy to forget that for people, they take more records of those
the one they didn't do.
No, the dead than the newly born. Otherwise, if you know the billions Mr. President had expended to bail out the states, to get some people back to meet up with their little exigencies.
And pay contractors.
Do you know as well that since 2012, what they call the joint venture cash call had not been paid to the oil majors? It's the same, Mr. President, that is now going to address is over $7 billion. The oil majors have been owed. He told them, wait a minute, I'm going to pay you. For me, I understand that the government, new government is about assets and liabilities. I own the assets, I also own the liabilities. But he is not the talking type. He will not go to the market to shout. And even if he shouts, some people do not want to hear.
Okay.
But the war against corruption will intensify with the days. Even some of us he appointed, in fullness of time, Nigerian people will also be happy to see Mr. President.
I don't think Nigerians have any problem with that. I mean,
but
Nigerians are really interested in a synergy between delivering on promises, delivering on responsibilities of government, and the war against corruption. Let's come to the economy, which is actually what is bothering a lot of Nigerians. Some members of your party, the APC, quarrel with the recruitment, quality of recruitment by Mr. President? I mean, in terms of ministers, in terms of round pegs in round holes and all that. Some members of your party have called on the president to shake up the cabinet, you know, change a couple of people to see if the economic team can be more proactive and more result-oriented. Is that a position you share, or you have a different opinion?
What I've done in the past 13 years I've been with Mr. President is try to understand his own line of thinking. For me, I could see him laying a foundation for a prosperous and a progressive Nigeria. I've told you here, in the little agency I manage, the day it was my turn to brief him, he said, OSITA, what did you find there? And where are you going? And I told him, sir, I said, I want to do this. I want to go online. Because in the whole of North America, China, Europe, nobody is on shortwave model. Want to digitalize. And he said, okay, now you are aware that there is paucity of funds. How do you encounter that? I said, I will go for the cheapest and effective. That's what you want to listen to. And he told us, he said, if there's any ongoing project where you find yourself, please, that project is project for your organization. Don't bother yourself who awarded the contract. You must complete that before you go into a new one. Same thing he did to the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Minister of Transport. He continued where the previous regime stopped on the rail line. All he's doing is to add. But he didn't neglect what is going on. That is what I'm more focused about. What is the tangent? What is he following? That's my preoccupation. Because some of you told me about the people saying he will change this, he will change that. These ones are not good, these ones. How can a Minister of Finance be good when over 2 decades and unluckily sustained with our return to democracy, we went into a nebular economic policy that says government had no business in business, that did not use unprecedented oil revenue to build standard rail lines, to fix our roads, to improve our education. And you think you import up to toothpicks, and you think if there is slide in the international market of the oil price, that the naira would not slide. It's natural. And when you look back, as I said earlier, the amount of money Obasanjo from accounts left over $20 billion in the excess good account, over 60 in the foreign reserves. But in a switch of less than 6 years, it was squandered below 10. In spite of the fact that most of the time, the average sales of the same oil in those years was about $90.
There you go again. There you go again.
No,
that is the problem.
It's not a problem.
That is a challenge with the APC.
No, yesterday.
You keep talking about yesterday.
Yesterday is today's architecture.
Great.
Whether you like it or not.
No, great. But we'll be, like I asked you about the economy. Even your own party members say that some of the officials that have been appointed probably may not be up to the challenge.
No, I'm saying
okay. If you say you don't agree with that,
no, my disagreement is this.
Yes,
it's not those officials per se. It's the situation where they find themselves.
Okay.
Because some of these governors, I overheard one governor about a few days ago saying the same thing.
Yes, that's Rochas.
This is the governor that could not even use his local council to clear rubbish in Owerri roads. That is still owing salaries, waiting for bailout. That had not changed his own cabinet. So I don't want to address that. What I'm looking at the tangent, where is Mr. President's thinking going? If the Nigerian people will understand him. He said, one, the little you have, please prudently utilize it. Show me where you're going. I will support you with it. We went for a budget meeting. What was the mathematics? They said, yes, we're low on funding. Could you tell us your priorities? The areas where we wrote about computers, this and that, they said, how many computers do you have already? If you say you have 10 computer sets already, they'll tell you, why don't you manage those 10 sets? Why are you buying more? Deploy it in the area where what you're doing will be upgraded and enhanced. Because we're not more lavish anymore. Please, it's a difficult thing to do in life. Where do you find somebody, like in the Voice of Nigeria, they were spending about 16 million every month on diesel. And when I came, I called their attention. I said, look, you have 8 transmitters. 6 has gone bad. You're not talking about repair of those transmitters. We are spending huge money on diesel. You know, I told Mr. President this story. Mr. President said, OSITA, okay, I'll give you support. What do you want next? I said, sir, we're tenants in Radio House. He said, okay, let's see what we can do. So what Mr. President...
from 16 million, you brought it down to what?
To about 10, 9, 10.
Okay.
Yes. Why did I do so? I told them, I said, nobody in life would not like to be a billionaire. But you cannot wreck a system you made on the ground because you want to be a millionaire, a billionaire.
Please, I just want to beg and plead with our viewers that we don't want calls. The number we gave is for you to be part of the program using WhatsApp to send messages. Our phone has constantly been ringing. We can't even take the WhatsApp messages, and we can't answer the call. So please, can we leave the calls and just send messages to the number on your screen? Sorry, I interrupted you.
It's like when Mr. President started spending on the military to get the Boko Haram downgraded. A lot of people said, why is he spending such billions? He said, look, if any soil of the Nigerian state is being occupied by some insurgents, it doesn't make good sense for the country. Like the Chibok girls. Nobody takes it as if it's a glory, but it's a glory. Because there's a saying in the...
But Nigerians are happy. They've been congratulating the government.
No, they did, but nobody knew
that some work was being done in the background.
And expenditure made as well to upgrade the Air Force, to upgrade the military. Did you hear of any mutiny anymore? Or any award soldiers in the Northeast? You didn't hear about that anymore. Nobody was tried, no soldier abandoned his duty post. No wife of soldiers demonstrated.
But you know, a hungry nation is an angry nation.
No, it's not about angry.
No. People are hungry.
They were not hungry when they were demonstrating, when the women...
No, what I'm saying...
in Nigeria,
no, you're saying about appreciation or seeing the other side. A lot of people are hungry. You know, one of the things Nigerians will want to see is a serious intervention economically. An intervention that can bring down the cost of living, the rising cost of basic products like rice, like wheat, and all that. I'm also sure that some Nigerians are excited about some of the things Mr. President is doing. But the economy, what is he doing about it?
He's doing a lot about it. He said, because of the fact that in the past, the whole trust was on a mono economy, on crude oil. Please, we need to diversify. I was there the day, for instance, when the Minister of Water Resources presented his roadmap. He's now talking of revival of river basin authorities that was actually engineered during the military regime, but abandoned midway. When the focus was share the money, share the oil money. And I asked the minister, Engineer Suleiman Adamu, what actually are you talking about? He said, look,
that the River Basin Authority are scattered across the country, that his target is to irrigate 100,000 hectares. In conjunction with the Ministry of Agriculture and the states and private sector, that are going to, the map he has in his office contains a broad base of what is good in each region. He brought a Mexican who actually his best bet is pineapples and bananas. And the man is saying that bananas revive itself, just need little nurturing. And he has birds in Nigeria. That pineapples the same thing. And then he talk of cereals. So when you talk of agriculture, for instance, the fruit from agriculture do not come in a day. More so, when you are going to go into massive diversification of the economy, where you are now planning more money into agriculture. By next year, I've said this severally in several fora. I said, in fullness of time. What do I mean by that? In the first instance, he has a mandate of 4 years. The same Nigerian people today who are criticizing Mr. President will be the one clapping for the goals. But he is not the noisy type who will start shouting to the doorsteps. Now, but what he's doing is that, first and foremost, he had spent to fill the holes. He spent in the military billions. He spent bailout. He now spent on debts, contractors since 2012. Verifiable ones. That also, you have to also take time to sift the wheat from the chaff. So these are part of the preoccupation why people think nothing is going on. But these are not intangibles. They're substantive. But I know fully well that the rate Mr. President is going, if you know my worry is that his effort is not being complemented by some state governors and local councils. Because if there is a synergy in the same focus the way he's going, then I would say yes, it will be quicker. But since everybody still looks at the federal government as the only whooping dog, nobody remembers that no House of Assembly in any state House of Assembly in the country is actually doing oversight functions. So the governors are like emperors. Nobody's challenging the much and the little they are getting. Yes, I agree that federal government of Nigeria gets about 52%, but the states gets the 48% because they are in charge of the local councils. If you ask them, if you query any governor, what are you doing with the money? They will tell you that you are against us. I hope the governors will also learn to be prudent like Mr. President. If they do so, and also focused, then there will be a blend and faster results from the agricultural investment. But if that's not the case, it might be longer than we were thinking. But I know fully well that with 100,000 hectares, combination of Ministry of Water Resources and Agric, the development of solid minerals, the coal, are working on it. They're working on all facets of the mineral industry. And also giving the governors, they said any governor that wants to hook up with the mineral in his area, yes, come, let's sit down and talk about it.
Anyway, these are great things to hear about. I'm not sure that we are getting to hear about most of what you're telling us tonight. But let's talk about the APC, I remember during the electioneering, one of the times you were here, we talked about APC being like a coming together of different ideologies. And it looked like it played out. After the election was won, we had this challenge with the National Assembly and all that. And today we still see pockets of disagreements here and there. I mean, some of the things that a lot of people would have thought could have been handled, you know, inside the House. Of course, the Tinubu, OKECHUKWU controversy. And then this continuous agitation of members of the APC that they are not feeling the impact of being in government. You know, you've had demonstrations of people that said, oh, we work for Mr. President, and Mr. President is bringing people that are not members of the party, that don't understand the ideology of the party. Of course, that was part of what the wife said. So what is why is there still this problem of, you know, melting together, if you forgive my language, of these different ideologies to have one body?
I do not think that the parties are divided as people are saying. It's not actually. What happened to the APC is two-dimensional. One, we came from the same journey of share the money. Share the money.
Even in the APC?
No, we came from the same journey. Because the PDP was in charge of the federal government of Nigeria. And
most of the APC members now are former PDP.
Yes, so it was share the money culture. Suddenly, you now find a president who is like a new sheriff overseeing the expenditure pattern. That collectively, in some ministries, there were about 8 different pockets of accounts in different banks. Every money is now warehoused. So before you spend, you must let us know what you're spending for. It's very difficult to adjust.
Could that be the reason for the discordant notes in the APC?
No, there's no discordant. And if you're in power, definitely, the gear will change itself. You are now jostling for higher things. The Asiwaju, nobody in APC, not Mr. President or anybody, especially for some of us who came from the defunct CPC, we would never forget the role played by Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He gave us the critical supplement. We always had 12 million votes. But we would have had 15.4 and the spread. From Mr. President.
So you're saying CPC brought 12 million and then the others contributed like 3 points?
Mr. President had his own
base
followership based on the same principle of prudence, of managing the people's resource, placing public interest above himself. That is it. It's a political capital.
Yeah, because what you
is very rare.
Because what you just said, supports the view of some members of the APC that they are being treated like outsiders by the CPC.
No.
Because when you start talking, it goes like the president's 95% and 5%. What you just said.
It's not I'm saying that without the support of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed,
yes,
we couldn't have won the election. Nobody doubts that. I was in a meeting where he said he's going to support President Muhammadu Buhari. And Mr. President, don't bother yourself. The delegates from my defunct ACN going to vote for you. And they demonstrated it in Lagos. We can never. Mr. President will never. Nobody will ever do so. But what we're saying is that these issues are not as being played out. OKECHUKWU, that I know, is not an enemy to Tinubu. The disagreement is about the Ondo election.
Yes.
And I'm a veteran of party politics. I wasn't in Ondo. But let me be honest with you. If anybody tells me that 150 delegates were swapped, it's neither here nor there. You know why? The governor of Jigawa State led a panel to the place. If a panel comes to Enugu today for primaries, the first thing he will do, if he goes to anywhere, the first meeting is with the aspirants. In fact, sometimes they will tell all the stakeholders to stay away and meet with the aspirants first, because the aspirants are actually the stakeholders.
We're actually running out of time.
Sorry.
What will be your message? You know, what will you tell Nigerians? You know, agitated, angry, impatient. What will you tell Nigerians?
What I will tell Nigerians repeatedly is, one, they should join Mr. President's anti-corruption crusade. They have now seen that they have raised the bar. To arrest a Supreme Court justice means that nobody is above the law. And if we do so, it then means there will be prudent management of the resources of the Nigerian states. What nearly killed Nigeria is corruption. And if we can stem to a larger extent and join Mr. President, then the money left, no matter how small, will be utilized for our common good. That's the most important thing. It's a key element to the development of the country.
We must thank you, Mr. OSITA OKECHUKWU, Director General Vice of Nigeria. It's always exciting talking with you, whether you're in opposition or whether you're in the ruling party. You know. And I hope we'll see more of you.
I pray.
My apologies to our viewers. We weren't able to actually read your messages because the calls won't let us do that. So we hope that in the next editions, we just stay with the WhatsApp. Thanks for watching. I'm Obiora Ilo from Abuja in Nigeria. Let's do it again on Sunday at 2 in the afternoon.